such changes to like make stuff modernized or like overly woke?
I think I can get a 50-50 throw off one-on-one with George Pickens.
Give me 10 of those. Yeah, give me 10
Give
of
me
those.
10 of those.
I'm kind of getting sick of enemies to lovers. I'm gonna be honest. Yeah.
Hello, welcome to Live from M5. I'm Jason Cardanini, and I'm here today with
Miss Masnica.
Tatum Borneman.
Colin Arriaga.
And today we're going to be talking about the effort and the effort it takes into putting on the play. So each of you is involved in theater in some way, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay, everyone say what basically they do in theater. What?
Yeah, so I teach here at Rocklin High School. I teach all of the theater classes here and the tech theater classes, as well as put on all of the after-school productions that we do here at Rocklin High School.
I mainly have been doing tech. I've been in a production, but for this year at least, I've been doing a lot of tech parts, doing stage managing.
Yeah, I've only done acting so far.
Okay, so each of you has worked on or been in an active play. Am I right?
Yes.
Yes.
What is that like? What is the preparation what is the role you guys play in preparing and doing the plays?
Yeah. So I'm usually the one that's picking the play and then having to kind of organize when auditions are, have auditions, cast the production, and then basically all of the behind the scenes stuff as far as the creative direction that the play goes. So all of the blocking that's on stage. If we're doing a musical, I also do the choreography. I usually have a vision and have a hand in all of the props and costumes as well as the set design and building the sets.
Try to turn your mic towards you so that we can get a better. Okay,
Is that better?
Yeah, sorry.
No, that's
I bet
okay.
we picked that up, but like for now we should do that. Okay.
Yeah.
Tech doesn't do a lot of preparations except during tech week. Like during tech week is when we learn like how the set's gonna look and where to move stuff. But we don't have that much like Miss M has. But yeah, we have to be there for all the days like the actors. We, at least for the stage managers, we either know where to move stuff or we have a pamphlet that tells us where to move stuff. And we also manage the backstage crew and we help with the actors and all that. So. Okay.
I guess I'm in between them in terms of preparation. It's not a ton, but from the very beginning of rehearsals, I have to start learning lines and blocking. If we're doing a musical, choreography and music, and then, Tech Week and shows are like the big finale.
Could you go into a little depth about what Tech Week is exactly?
Yeah. Tech Week is the beautiful thing that is everyone's favorite part. I'm totally kidding. It's usually not anyone's favorite part, but it's when the show comes together. So that's when we start putting together all of our scene changes with our stage crew and our backstage crew who really don't get enough credit. They do so much to make our show go smoothly. If it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have a functioning show the way that we do most of the times. But yeah, Tech Week, we put our costumes on, we get our hair and makeup done, which I think for the actors really adds a level of character that they haven't been able to get into before we go into Tech Week. And then it's just, we run the show over and over again the whole week to prepare for our opening night.
So it's basically drill week.
It's drill week for sure.
How do you two feel when you're doing that? Because I know you all play a part in that. What does that feel like?
I stage managed for the very first time for the musical, and I was very stressed because I had support, I had people around me. I just didn't really know what I was doing, and it was a lot bigger. It was just like a big role because I had to manage people. I had to manage the scene changes. I had a headset, and I was in contact with the booth. Even though it was stressful, it was really fun. So.
Yeah, so it's a lot different for the actors. Tech Week is, it's in the name, it's very tech heavy. So the actors really aren't doing much or at least in the first few days of Tech Week. So it's a lot of sitting and waiting and doing little parts of scenes over and over.
I also want to ask, how is that for you as a teacher, being the director during Tech Week? How does it feel to be in your position?
It is the most stressful week of my life. So that happens 3 weeks for the school year, because we have 3 different productions that we have full-blown Tech Weeks for. And it is it's a lot to manage, because I care a lot about how the productions I put on stage turn out and look to our community and to our school, because it's a representation of our company and what we do in my classes. And so I really want to make sure that everything looks the way that I envision it to look, which means a lot of preparation. And so doing that on top of teaching 6 classes throughout the day, it's a lot of work. Usually I'm here from 6 in the morning until 9:30, 10 p.m. at night those weeks.
Yeah, that brings that kind of brings into like our main topic, because like I wanted to cover you guys basically on what you do, because I don't think you guys get enough credit for how much work you put into stuff. I mean, I was in plays when I was like 2nd grade, but I never had to like actually like prepare sets, really learn lines. You guys have to like really set up and prepare, and it looks very stressful.
Yeah, it is. But, you know, as however stressful it is, at least on my end, I'll let them speak to their end. But however stressful it is such a great feeling after like all of that, for opening night and our weekends of shows and then closing night, to see how much everyone has bonded together as a cast and as a family. And, you know, because we really are, we get so close with all of our tech members and our cast, because none of this could have happened without any of us. And so it's a real huge relief at the end of it, and especially hearing how much the audience has enjoyed everything. That's the reason why we do this, right? Is to provide entertainment and to create art on stage. And overall this year, I've been really, really happy about how all of the productions have turned out.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like at first, like with Tech Week, it's all really stressful. But then once you're actually like in the shows, it's just like really fun to watch it. Like at least backstage, like when we're not doing scene changes, we just kind of get to watch the show. And it's fun watching like what all the actors put together and how they play their characters. And then on closing night, at least me, I cry every closing night. I get really emotional, especially with like the spring play, because that's like the seniors' last show. It's really emotional, and everyone's just really close. And just like the community of theater is like pretty tight knit, so.
Yeah, it's definitely, it can get stressful, but I feel like it's with like work that you enjoy. It's not like school stressful. Like, I don't know about anybody else, but I actually get excited about learning my lines and trying to break down the script and everything.
So it's not like trying to learn and get ready for an AP test. That is just, that stuff is miserable. You guys seem to have fun when you.
Yeah, and I think I used to be on the acting side of it. So I used to be a performer, and now being on the other end of it. As a performer, I loved Tech Week way more than I do as the everything else part about it, because it is constantly you doing what you love. Like, I loved getting into hair and makeup and going on stage and playing this different character on stage. And then just the dichotomy between that and doing what I do now, which is making sure the whole show all together looks and is functioning the way that it needs to. It's just way more moving parts, and you have to be really good at multitasking, which is something that I am currently learning. I'm not the best at multitasking, and so it's been a wild year trying to learn how to juggle so many different things at once.
All right. That makes sense. Like, you said you were a performer. Like, what did you like perform any big productions or?
Yeah, so I always stayed local, so I went to Rocklin High School, and I was on the dance team. So I did one musical my freshman year, and then I was on the dance team my last 3 years. And then I actually went to Sierra College in Sac State for theater, and I majored in theater. So I was in productions at both of those schools, and then I also grew up doing community theater. And so I've been involved in this space since I was about 5 years old, doing plays and productions. I would say my biggest level production was at Sierra College. We did Addams Family, and they have much more of a budget over there. Exactly. They have much more of a budget over there, and so it was a higher scale production overall. And I worked with a wonderful director, Scott Adams, who really inspired me to want to be a teacher. Yep, I know. The director of the Adams Family is Scott Adams. Incredible.
I recognized that name. I did. I knew I heard that name. I was like, who is that? Because I've heard that name before just somewhere. So he's the director of the original OG.
No. He's a professor at Sac State, or not Sac State. I'm so sorry. He's a professor at Sierra College, and like the head of the theater department over there. And he's a wonderful, wonderful teacher. And like I said, inspired me to want to be a theater teacher myself. But he directed that show. And if you guys think your tech weeks were bad, my tech weeks were from 3:30 p.m. until 1 a.m. every day. So
how did you not collapse?
I was pretty dang close. No, but I mean, it's another thing. It's a different world being a performer, right? Like you almost get an adrenaline rush. I don't know about you guys, but when I was performing, I got an adrenaline rush from being on stage and performing. And so, we weren't performing for that whole time, but a lot of that is like setup. The stage crew has to get set up. The sound and the lights need to get set up. We're getting in hair and makeup while all of this is going on. And Addams Family was a pretty heavy makeup show, so a lot of people were having to do like full body gray paint on themselves. So
yeah, because like most of the Addams Family looks like they're pale, like they haven't drinking water in 3 days.
Exactly, and I played Morticia, so I was one of those pale people in the show, and wearing a wig and all that jazz.
The closest time I've been to that pale is when I almost passed out. So that makes sense. So you got, okay.
Luckily, I didn't pass out. So.
Okay. Well, anyways, that actually brings up my next question. Like, what is the other feelings leading up to the plays itself? Do you feel nervous? Do you feel excited? What do you feel? Just beyond Tech Week, how do you feel when you're preparing?
Yeah, I feel a lot of the times I feel overwhelmed, and that's just because I want everything to go well and I want everything to look good. And because this is my first year being not only a teacher but really a director in a sense, it's a lot of kind of second guessing myself and questioning my abilities and my choices and if those choices are the right choices. But I think as I continue, it gets a little bit easier. And there's always a certain level of excitement. You know, I'm excited and a little bit nervous for people to see the shows. But at the end of the day, I'm just thankful to have the students that I have involved in my productions because they're all like a really great bunch of kids.
All right.
I don't know. I mean, I like being involved in theater. Like just the community. I always feel really happy when I'm just like around those people. And like, even though I'm stressed about like, just Tech Week and everything, like just watching the shows, and like once you get like down in the routine of like what you need to be doing, it's a little less stressful because like, you know, that's just what you're doing, at least for me. So I just kind of get to enjoy being around everyone and being in that community and all that. So
yeah, I guess for me it depends on how prepared I am. Like the musical, I didn't feel as prepared leading up to it as I normally do, so it was a little bit more stressful, but it's always super exciting. I'm always super excited, like the weeks leading up to opening.
All right. And that, yeah, you guys look, yeah, I know that feeling a little bit, probably not on the level you guys do, but I knew the feeling of like, I'm going to do something, am I going to do this right? How am I going to do this? It's kind of like a stressful feeling. Like I practice MMA, and like, I like have to do like things where I have to break boards in front of people, and I'm gonna have to put on my own like event when I get my black belt in a couple months, where we have to literally basically do a demonstration of like a kata or something, and then like break a board in one of the best ways you can. So it's like I gonna know that stress a little bit too, but still it's like admirable that you guys are able to push through that stress and still be able to do what you guys do. And that also goes into what I'm gonna ask. Goes into what. Next, how does it feel on opening night? Because that is when all your work pays off, and you sink or swim. At least, am I right?
Yeah. No, you're absolutely correct. I think each show it's a little bit different, right? Like Colin was saying, for the musical, there was a lot of different moving parts for the musical, and so I think for that show specifically, we didn't have as much time to feel super prepared, and we opened the show coming off of a week off from school, and so a week without rehearsal and then having rehearsal for 2 days and then opening the show, that could be really, really stressful. I mean, I think they did a great job and they killed it. But live theater is just, you never know what you're going to expect. And I think a lot of people don't necessarily understand that with film, right, you get cuts and you get takes and there's edits and you get your best performance of it. And that's what everyone sees. With theater, you have performances in front of an audience every single time, and you want to give your best performance to that audience every single time. And I mean, let's be honest, that's just not going to happen, right? You're going to have better performances and you're going to have not as great performances. But if you can get some sort of level of consistency, I think that's what everyone is hoping for. So on opening night, people always say opening night is not the show you want to go to, but I kind of like seeing all of the little jitters and maybe the little mistakes that we realize, but no one else realizes in the audience because we know what's supposed to happen. But it's a lot of excitement and a little bit of nerves for sure.
I remember on opening night, a lot of people, like everyone's just kind of stressed because like it's opening night. I remember for the musical, it was a lot of people's first like show. It was Caden, I don't know if you know him, it was his first show and he was super nervous and he was practicing lines and he missed a cue. But he got over it and like everyone on opening night is just super nervous. But I feel like after opening night, everyone just feels so much like better because they just got like the first night over with and now they have shows left, and everyone's always exhausted after opening night and they go home and they go to bed. So
Yeah, for me, I think that opening night is my most exciting performance. I have the most energy, I think. There's a saying called Saturday Night Slumps or Second Day Slumps, and it's basically like the second day you're gonna be all like tired. It's not gonna be a great performance. So I don't know if that's exactly true, but
It's a myth.
it's
Miss Emily says it's a myth on the second night.
Yeah, I believe her because she's a theater teacher.
I don't think that it's as true as people make it out to be, but there might be a little bit of like unconscious or subconscious small difference.
Okay.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I do agree. I think it's more of a mindset thing. I think if people, because that was something that used to be said in the theater community a lot, that like second night slump. And so the reason why I say that to my cast is to try to get them out of that mindset. But it is true. It's like after all the excitement happens from opening night, there is a certain level of energy that is lost on that opening night that we never truly get back. And I think that's what second night slump is. And so to Colin's point, it is in fact true, but I just try to convince people that it is not true.
I think opening night is definitely high energy, and then closing night is also another high energy, and like in between it kind of like varies. It kind of just varies. Like there's no like knowing it's going to be high energy, but I feel like a lot of our actors here, at least, like they do a good job of like keeping their energy up every night and not like being like, oh, I'm tired tonight, I'll just do better tomorrow or stuff like that. So they just kind of give it their all every night. So
Right. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. You got it seems like kind of the opening, the beginning and the end are when you have the most like beginning you want to put on the best show. At the end you want to give them the final specular finale. Sorry, I can't speak.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah. I myself have been to Broadway shows. I've seen Hamilton live in the Rogers Theater in New York.
Nice.
And like it's like it looks spectacular, and like you can tell that they really put a lot of effort in what they do. Every line is perfect. Everyone knows what they're doing. The facial expressions are there's so much said, and yet there's so much not said that makes it so well. You can tell that everyone has prepared, lost sleep, done everything, cried, hugged, and just been like a family together. And
Yeah.
it seems you guys have the same energy to that.
Absolutely.
And how, like, what is the most rewarding part of doing all this? I know you talk about how Tech Week is probably the most stressful part. What's the most rewarding part of doing all this?
Yeah, for me, it's closing night. It's just the community that I see, the students build with each other and the kids build with each other, the relationships I see get built. We really are like a family. And I think seeing them all together on closing night before the show and after the show, and it warms my heart, because that's what this is all about, right? Especially in high school, theater is about providing a place of comfort and community for people that maybe feel like they don't have a place anywhere else, and that's exactly what I want my program to be.
For me, the most rewarding part is like every night seeing the show come together, and also just like seeing people that like I saw at auditions that I didn't even know their name, and then by the end they weren't talking to anyone, and then by the end they were like being hugged by everyone, and they're just like surrounded by people, and they look so confident on stage. Like I knew a lot of people that were like freshmen this year that were in the musical. I had no clue who they are, and then by the end of the show, like I was giving them hugs, I was telling them that they did so great and all that. So it's kind of just people coming together. That's the best part for me. It's like being in the community.
Yeah, I would venture to say that the first bows in front of an audience, that's the amount of energy on the stage when we all take our final bow is it's hard to compare. It's like the feeling that we did it. We pulled it all together, and that's where you see all that like camaraderie come out. People patting each other on the backs, congratulating each other. It's just really cool to witness and be a part of.
Yeah, is that like amplified at the final night? Is that even more so in the final night, that level of camaraderie and like fulfillment? Like, yeah, we did this.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we did it.
On
I think
final
so.
night, we have awards for people involved, so like backstage crew, lights and sound. And that's when you see it, people come together to give awards and all that. So, but definitely bows are one of my favorite parts. I'll always remember my first bow, so.
Yeah. Well, and I'll never forget at the musical, man, just thinking about it, I'm getting all emotional. At the musical, when they were doing awards after the show, the whole cast started chanting my name as I was like coming up to grab my award. And like sometimes when you put so much effort into something that is behind the scenes and people don't really see you, or at least me, I don't realize how much people appreciate it. And then to have that happen at the end of that show, it really made me feel like loved and appreciated by my students. And I think it brought me closer to the cast in that moment. And it was a really, really beautiful, sad, awesome, wonderful moment.
You guys all agree?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because
Yes.
last year, during the spring play when we were doing bows and gifts and all that, it was Tepke's last year, and that was actually my first show. I acted in that one, and it was just super emotional because it was Tepke's last show, and then during the fall play, it was Miss M's first show here directing. So
I heard many people were sad when Tepke left. Am I correct?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
she
my
was the
gosh.
only theater teacher here since the school opened.
Which means she was my theater teacher too.
Yeah.
And
So
I
you-
went throughout the whole theater program with Miss Tupke. Yeah. And my brother and my sister. So
So you must feel like you have some big shoes to fill.
absolutely. I mean, it's one of the scariest things about taking this job was knowing that the person I had to follow was Miss Tupke, someone so great and someone that just is so locked in what they're doing and knows exactly what they should be doing. That's why I'm just so thankful for the students that I had this year. They were so willing to help and so willing to throw in any hands or any helping hands that they could or that I needed to make the shows great. So I can't be more appreciative or thankful for my students.
So it seems like the most common feeling for all you guys during the preparation and when you're doing it even after is camaraderie and just like kind of offensive like unity, because you all worked, bled, and cried together to like make this play possible, and it's like kind of a very rewarding feeling. Am I correct about that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's one of the most beautiful parts of theater.
Yeah. Although I have heard from my friends who are in theater that they like collapse after the play is done. Like
It's exhausting.
how like one
a
of
lot
my
of
friends.
people don't show up the Monday after closing shows.
Yeah, a friend of mine said that she like after they finished the play, she was so tired that when they were at Mel's getting ice creams and stuff, she just face pounded in her ice cream.
Alana fell asleep at Mel's, I think.
I think
I've
it's
seen a lot
Alana.
of people sleeping at Mel's. I know a lot of people that didn't even go to Mel's after Saturday show because they were just so tired and they wanted to go home.
If I was a part of that, I'd probably just go home and just like sleep for 10 hours.
Yeah, all power to him, because I remember doing that as an actor and a performer, but now I just go home and sleep with my cats and have a nice little sleep.
Yeah, so yeah, well, it still seems like you guys have a really good sense of camaraderie and like unity and just all of that. That's how you guys feel. You said that some of you guys cry at the end of the.
I do very much so.
I cry every show. Yeah. At least somewhere in every show.
I don't know about you, Colin, but
Colin's too manly to cry.
No, men cry too.
Please cry.
Real
first,
men
Colin.
cry.
I wouldn't say, yeah, it's like, I'm not trying to be rude, but just saying this isn't what you consider a manly thing, like stereotypically, but I'm not disregarding that. I'm just saying it's not something like football.
No, and you know what? I'm really glad actually that you brought that up, because I think a lot of people have that stereotype that this is more of a flamboyant activity to participate in, but really, I mean, there are so many very masculine male roles in our productions, and you know, I think more so than anything, seeing someone brave enough to get up in front of a group of people and put their self on the line in more of an emotional or performative way is a lot more impressive and manly than running around and throwing a ball. No offense to anyone that does that. I think that's manly and professional too. I'm just saying.
I mean, it's kind of like credit. Stereotypes they kind of just linger around. Like, I'm in flag football, and I've heard many people call it like a lesbian sport and all that. So it's kind of like, yeah, like people just kind of say that stuff, but they don't really like care all that much. Like, if you're in theater, they may be like, oh, you're in theater, and then they like kind of look away. So like, I've known a lot of people where like, I actually have a friend who's in theater one because she was put in there, and she just is so like, I don't want to say embarrassed, but she's a little embarrassed because she doesn't want people to think that she's like a theater kid. And I've had friends call me the cool theater kid. I don't even know what that means, but
which is funny because when I was in high school, actually the quarterback of the football team was in all of the theater classes and Theater 4 and did some of the productions. And we had a big mixing of sports and theater and kids that were involved in sports doing theater. And so it's interesting how throughout the years kind of that changes. So
yeah. You have anything to add, or?
I'm just thinking it's really cool about the football player thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's some talent.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, myself, I believe that theater can be for anyone because like theater has been around for thousands of years. Originally, it's just all men who did it.
Absolutely.
And now, like it's kind of the role, the stereotypes switch that around. But like you said, there are some rules that take a lot of very like strong wills and anger. Like you have to put in. Like, have you guys like you ever watch like shows like Spawn or something? Have you like heard Keith David's voice? You know, he plays Dr. Facilier in Princess and the Frog.
Oh,
ooh, okay.
Yeah, he is like he is an amazing actor. I really kind of like his filmography because he's done some very great voice acting. At the very least, he's done voice acting, but he's done voice acting where he can put on these like extreme like you can hear like the like anger or anything in his voice, and like you cannot. That's very hard to do. Like you should listen to his Spawn quote. I cannot do it justice myself, but if you listen to it, it is like the most. It actually makes you kind of scared because like, and you feel like, is he speaking to me? It's like that kind of feeling, but still, it's like yeah, theater just seems to be able to like basically put on emotions for a show for people. I guess.
Well, and to point out a lot of actors that you would typically see as like masculine actors or manly actors. For example, Hugh Jackman, his career started on the stage and he still does Broadway shows to this day. And so I think it's good to remember too that a lot of your actors that you see on TV have a beginning and have a start in theater first, and that's how they get into it.
He was the lead in The Greatest Showman, right?
He was also the lead in The Greatest Showman, yeah.
I love that musical. I saw it in theaters and I loved it.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. Well, still, yeah, it just seems like you guys put on a lot of effort, and it takes a lot of, like, I guess, emotion and, like, will to basically put on these and act them out and put on these giant sets that make everything go together and just kind of bring it all together into this one very impressive show.
Hi, I'm Trey, part of Rocklin Media. If you liked your podcast, go ahead and like and subscribe. And if you'd like to read more articles and learn more about your campus, go ahead and visit rocklinmedia.org.